Hey there, filthy animals. Mr. Dirty back with another episode of the GTM show, and today we got Blake's Frozen Food back on the show again. This time around it's going to be with their meatloaf and mashed potatoes. So this is the package you're looking for if you're looking for this in stores. And yeah, as usual, you got your typical, we don't hurt our animals, everything's non-GMO, antibiotic, all that kind of stuff going on here. And over here, like a very appetizing look at some meatloaf sitting atop mashed potatoes and a nice little pool of gravy going on there. I also see peas. Alright, on the back panel of the box you've got a little write-up there going on telling us once again about Blake's grandma, but it's usually the same thing on every box. This time around they're blabbering about her meatloaf and her mashed potatoes. We also have our cooking instructions located on the bottom. Speaking of bottom, the bottom of the box has our list of ingredients on it. Top panel just has an advert, as does the side panel. The other side panel has our nutrition facts. Pause the screen, check that out if you need to. Inside the box you're going to get this little frozen entree there. You see our mashed potatoes and a clump of peas right through the clear cellophane top. Can't really see much of our meatloaf going on. Looks like a ton of gravy though. You can see how thick this is. I'm going to call that about a 2-inch deep bowl. Only as I'm holding it up I can see clear through it, and I can see that the contents only take up about half of this container. Alright, now on the front of the box they're telling us that this meatloaf and mashed potatoes is made with garlic mashed potatoes, garden peas, and our signature savory gravy. Alright, for our cooking instructions we have oven and microwave instructions. In the oven 350 degrees for 15 minutes. Not going to happen. We're slinging this into the microwave where we're cooking on high for 3.5 minutes. Then we're going to stir the potatoes, replace the film, continue cooking 1 to 1.5 minutes, and check that the food is cooked thoroughly. Then remove the film and we eat. So I'm going to go do all that, then we're going to come back and check out our Blake's meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Alright guys, we are back. We got our Blake's meatloaf and mashed potatoes out of the microwave where we did all the bit where 3.5 minutes and stirred the potatoes like halfway through and then cooked for an additional 1.5 minutes. And I have not completely removed the cellophane yet. I think we're going to do that together. So let me grab the camera and drop down and show you what we got. Alright guys, so once again that's what we're supposed to be getting out of this deal. And over here is our finished product out of the microwave. As you can see I have not taken the cellophane off. I had taken half off to stir it halfway through. Let me remove the rest of it right now. Show you what we got here. Boom, you can see our there's a tiny little piece of meatloaf in there right now. Just looking at this as we're peeling this off. Minuscule. You saw how big this entree was before we went microwaving it. And look at that, that is like a fucking meatball. Good grief. Mashed potatoes. Not looking too bad, but I gotta tell you, the halfway stir, I know it said from scratch, but I'm thinking from scratch, maybe instant potatoes from scratch, because these didn't exactly seem like, somebody was mixing these with a blender or something, or even like beating them. It just had all the consistency of typical TV dinner mashed potatoes. As you can see, the amount of gravy that's going on inside here, very watery, very soupy potatoes. Very small amount of peas too. And this entree ran us, I would say, I think it was about $4 to be honest with you. Like $3.99 I think we paid for this. And we're looking at 8 ounces right there. Yeah, 227 grams. $4. And let's see if we can peel this out of here. This is the entire piece of meatloaf right there. Doesn't even take up like a quarter of this thing. So yeah, incredibly small portions for what you get here, I would say, money-wise versus quantity. Hopefully the quality is where it's at, and this is going to be the most fantastic tasting meatloaf and mashed potatoes ever. Alright, let's go back up to FaceTime. Alright guys, you've had your close-up look at this. Yeah, very small portions. I'm going to say, right off the bat, right now, before I've even tasted it, it's not looking like much of a value at all. There's a like janky, tiny little piece of meat, watery potatoes. Yeah, not looking so good right now. Let me go in for a taste test on these potatoes real quick. It's supposed to be garlic, remember? Down the hatch. Not so much garlicky right off the bat, but very salty. Very, very salty. Let me hit up a little bit more now, this time around with a pea attached. Standard issue, frozen peas. Could be like Jolly Green Giant or a Bird's Eye. The flavor on the potatoes doesn't exactly come across as like dehydrated instant potatoes. They taste more like regular potatoes, but yeah, on the mix, yeah. Let me go in on the meatloaf itself now. Alright, not a bad meatloaf at all. That does come across kind of like a homemade meatloaf. A lot of times when you get frozen food meatloaf, it's hard to distinguish that between like frozen food, TV dinner, Salisbury steak. This actually tastes like a meatloaf and actually has the texture of a homemade meatloaf. Very herby too. Like somebody had like gone mixing up some shit right out of the cabinet in the kitchen. So I'd say the meatloaf itself kind of holds true to the made from scratch thing that they've got going on the cover. Potatoes, not so much, you know, they're so watery. It just doesn't come across as homemade at all. It's kind of like between instant and beaten. The gravy itself is exactly like they say, it's savory, and that also is kind of like made from scratch, where it's like a watery kind of gravy, kind of like it was made from a broth or a runoff, some kind of grease or oil from like a poultry or some sort of a meat, or something like that, where you would take the stock and just mix flour into it to thicken it. That seems to be what they've got going on here. Peas, like I say, they just seem like frozen peas. You know, they don't seem like they're freshly picked. They seem like they were like freshly grabbed from frozen food department. But overall, it's not bad. But yeah, the quantity that you get here is pretty jacked up. And even though it says 8 ounces, you know, I would question that. Just taste testing this, I've already taken out like half of this thing. So I can't even see this, like, it's not much of a snack. I don't see this being even like worthy of taking to lunch for work or something like that. It's just not going to be very filling. It's not the type of thing that's going to hold you through to the next meal. You literally have to take down like 2 of these to put a dent in any kind of appetite. So overall, taking everything into consideration, I'm going to give it a low 3 out of 5. I think they're onto something really good here, but they've completely fucking tripped and fallen on their face on so many different points. Regardless, there you have it. It's the Blake's Meatloaf and Mashed Potatoes. Run out, give it a try, form your own opinion. I'm Mr. Dirty. This is the GTM Show. Don't forget, you can buy Knucklehead shirts and hoodies down in the description. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @TheRealMrDirty. And as always, get out of here. Go have a rotten day.